And a lot of times we get stuck on the why of our circumstances instead of like the opportunity that presents itself there. Like I have air in my lungs, my hands and my arms and my upper body works. For the most part, I can be pretty independent. Stairs and I don't obviously get along very well, but I have a lot of ability to go and do whatever I want to do. And it took me a while to figure that out, that the chair was not an obstacle at all. Really, it's become a miracle.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another awesome episode of the Pay It Forward podcast. We have Austin Seward, I am Keegan Walls, and we are super fortunate and blessed to be introducing our next guest. He is a keynote speaker that travels across the country, and he is a two-time Paralympian and now the head coach of the USA Paralympian rugby team. So we are super excited to have with us today Joe Delagrave.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys having me.
Absolutely.
Exciting.
Awesome. So let's start out and just jump right into it. So you're an Olympic athlete. So tell everybody listening what the Olympics were like, what sport you played, how that all went.
Yeah. So I guess to start out, I'm going to be a corrector. I hate correctors. Like I hated English class. So Paralympics is like, and I always say that because it's like, for me, it's that title really matters. Okay. Olympics versus Paralympics, and para means parallel to the Olympics. And so athletes with physical disabilities competing in a multitude of sports at the Paralympic Games right after the Olympics. And the distinction, I think, matters. Just number one, Olympics is its own entity, and then Paralympics is its own entity. But then number two is like carving out that space for athletes that look like me and or have different disabilities. But anyways, wheelchair rugby is what I played for a long time, coach now, but which if you don't know what wheelchair rugby is, it's just a bunch of dudes smashing into each other trying to kill each other. And then it's no different really than that, the YMCA pickup basketball games that just get, no blood, no foul type of deal. Right. And and so obviously a ton of tactics and strategy to the game and whatnot, but that's kind of what you're seeing on the court.
Awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. And then how many Paralympics were you in? Yeah,
so I was I played on the national team for 13 years. I was captain for 8 of those years, and then went through 3 Paralympic cycles. The cycle or quad is what we call like the 4 years leading up into the Paralympics. So so went through 3 of those. 2 made the teams, 1 did not. 1 was sandwiched in the middle there. I'm sure we'll get into that, but like that was a very pivotal point in my career. So 2 Paralympic Games, London 2012 and then Tokyo 2020.
Yeah. And how'd you wind up in each of those?
Yeah, so we came up short in both of those. A medalist is a big deal. Like obviously finishing on the podium is a big deal, but one in London we came third, so we got a bronze medal. Which I was just like, I called that the brown poopy medal for a long time. I just hated that medal so much. And I think most people are happy with third place because they at least got a medal. But no. And then in Tokyo, the most recent one, we were fourth quarter tied. Ended up losing in like 2 minutes left and lost the game, so silver in Tokyo.
So was it like a devastating silver, like just... It was right there?
Yeah, honestly, yeah, it was from just strictly a competitive standpoint, obviously devastating. You want to win. You're that close. For me, there was a lot of peace with that victory. And victory, I call it because of losing, not only like losing in Rio, but also like not making that team. And all the way leading up into those games and not making that team. And so like that next quad was a completely different mindset. And so felt a lot of peace after that game.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about, you said the games between was sandwich that you didn't make the team. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess context, like for me, made the team in 2009, first national team. And had started training for it around 2008. And so like it was quick success. It was like boom, made the team, and I'm like, all right, here we go. And that year was cut from the team that went to our major tournament that year was American Zonal Championships, which is like third or fourth highest tournament in our quad or whatever. But missed that cut and then missed the cut to go to World Championships in 2010. Ended up and pretty much is like always preparing for your success, even when the success meter's going off and it's like, man, you suck. You're like not doing it. But like preparing for your opportunity. A dude ended up retiring in 2010 after he had made the team. It's like, I don't want to, I'm done, I'm retired. And so coach calls me up and he's like, yeah, and I was thinking like, he's going to have me on the team. Like I made it. And he's like, no, you want to try out again? Like three. So he called three of us up, three of us try out for this spot. I ended up making that team. And then wasn't cut up until Rio. So like became a captain, a lot of success, a lot of leadership skills. And then Rio comes along and, you know, honestly for me, it was one of those moments where I was like, I'm kind of a bubble player here just based on what we have and what's going on. And also like don't have a great relationship with the assistant coach who used to be a captain with me, and him and I just didn't see eye to eye, like very different leadership styles and whatnot. And knew like this dude kind of probably had it out for me a little bit type of deal. And like, and started talking to some guys like, I might not make this team. They're like, dude, you're crazy. Like 2014, he was named best 2.0 in the world, which is classification in wheelchair rugby based on our disabilities, 0.5 to 3.5. And then and out of the 4-on-4, out of those four guys, you can only have 8 points of function on the court. So like, it's kind of some equity there, but anyways, like, had just been named that in 2014, and they're like, "You're crazy, dude. There's no way." And I'm like, I might not make the team. I don't know. And it's like for me, I did everything in my control, my power to make the team. Best shape of my life in 2016. Worked myself like everything, right? And so, tryouts come along for the final cut to make the team in Rio. We're in Chula Vista, California. And it was 3-a-days during those times. Just an insane schedule. It's just like basically you're sleeping, waking up, eating, going to the gym, eating, going to the gym, eating, going to the gym, sleep, repeat for like I think it's a 4 or 5 day camp, mixed in with a random Bill Walton 3-hour talk, which was the craziest thing ever. He came to our practice. He lives out there, had connections to Challenge Athletes Foundation, and he's like, yeah, coach, like he's gonna come and talk for 20 minutes. He stayed for 3 hours and just talked.
Really?
It was wild. It was the most
cool.
And we were all like, thank God, because we're so tired. Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, we'll listen to story time the entire time. But yeah, so finally gets to that end of the selection camp, and coach calls us in, and one by one into his room. There, Chula Vista has like these little apartments that you stay in when you're on campus there, and so I get out of my room, go to his room, knock on the door. He invites me in and starts talking and whatnot. And him and the assistant coach are there, and you know they start talking about you're not good enough, and we don't need you on this team, and we selected something different. We're going a different route, and you know trail off and what you hear in those moments when you're competing at the highest level and you've already made the highest level is like, you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, you're not valued. Like, which is a gut punch to anyone when you're working and working and working and working. And so, I was like you get, you're pissed off about it, and there's a lot of bitterness, and there's a lot of anger, and there's a lot of resentment, and there's trying to figure out like, and it's in those moments, it's the easiest thing to do is point the finger. Yeah. You know, and like even like my relationship with God, like this was not part of the plan whatsoever. Like, what is going on? At that point, my wife and I we were living in Arizona. We had moved out there specifically for rugby. Had our 3 kids out there. Like, we have 3 babies in the house in diapers, and like talk about going home and feeling like a failure. You're just like, what in the world is going on here? And so all that to say, like the pivotal moment there was like sitting in that failure and then realize like, how am I going to respond? And for a while there was a response of pointing the finger, a response of looking anywhere else except the mirror. And I think it's really hard to do sometimes where you fail and you got to look in the mirror and go like, how do I get better? What are the controllables here? And there's areas in my leadership that I could have gotten better, areas in my game that I could have gotten better. And so like that moment, I mean, that really short version of that is like in that year and 2 years out, maybe a year, 2016, 2017 is pivotal for me because it was a moment where it was failure. It was easy to play the blame game. But in that transformed into going like, how do I respond? Which I use as a coach all the time. I use as a dad all the time. Use it in marriage all the time. Like it's just, not, you see failure everywhere.
Yep.
And I think the successful people in life are going to respond really well to failure, and they've figured out the failure game because we all fail.
Yep. Yeah.
Did you ever have a moment of wrestling with, that's it, that my career is done? I mean, obviously you make the team, you don't make the team. I mean, the thought come to mind of, I guess that's, my rugby career is over now.
Yeah. There was a good probably 3-4 months of like, this could be it. And questioning like, should it be it? And is this how I want to end my career? Is this how I want it to finish? And for me, I was like, man, I really want to go out on my own terms. I really like, and not athletes don't get that a lot.
Yeah.
They don't. Father time shows up or injuries show up or whatever it is. And for me, like, I want to go back, no matter if like, whatever that looks like. And if I get the chance to lead again, how am I going to lead? And I get, and that whole quad from 2013 to 16 and the failure of winning the bronze medal in London, our team was ranked number 1 from 2005 to 2012. Wow. So like it was a long period of success. They won the world champs in 2006, won gold in 2008, and then won world champs in 2010, which I was a part of. And so like heading into London, it was like, you're going to win.
Yeah.
Like that is the expectation. And when we didn't, as a young leader, I was like, well, if we win, then I'm a good leader. If we win, then I'm great as an athlete. If we win, everything's validated on an outcome and not like the actual process or journey. And so in 17, it was like, well, how do we do this from a better stand? Like, how do we build culture amongst the team? How do we it's got to be worth more than just the medal.
Yeah.
Because it's amazing and it's a great title, and I love share winning a medal with people, but at the same time, like there's got to be more purpose to it. There has to be more purpose to it. I tell guys all the time, like if you're only playing the sport so you can call yourself Team USA or USA Wheelchair Rugby or I'm a member of the Paralympic team or whatever it be, like you're gonna feel pretty empty because at the end of the day, no one cares. Like it's just, I mean, like what you do in your home or what you do with your spouse or what you're doing with your kids or your job, like that all matters way more than playing this made up sport where you're smashing into each other.
Yeah. Can you talk about more what that is for you, your purpose in being an athlete and doing what you do? What is your purpose behind other than just winning medals?
Yeah, for me, in my specifics of what I'm good at or what God's gifted me with is I love leadership. I love servant leadership. I love that it's a value of your podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think it's really important to like, what does that look like for me with my gifting? My gifting is I love being around people. I love building people up. I love pouring into them, figuring out what makes them tick and how they can get better. And so like that's something I've always valued in my life. And then realizing like that's a gifting for me when I show up to a room or when I show up to a team. And that's something that I need to pour out. And that like that's just a gift. Other people have a gift of details or organization or like whatever like it is, especially a part of a team. Like you all have these different giftings, and then how you puzzle that in and fit it in together creates a better team dynamic. And so that's one for me.
Great.
And so now are you coaching full time now with Team USA?
Yeah, so I retired after Tokyo. So October of 2021, we were done. We finished up and the gold medal game and very end of August, right into September 1, and then took a month to kind of figure it out, and then was fortunate enough to be offered the head coaching job like in November. So it was a quick turnaround for me, and something that, maybe I was like, assistant coach or get into coaching somehow, and then boom, like you're the guy right away.
coach.
Which was kind of a wild ride so it's been 2 years of doing that, but it's been fast and furious ever since.
Had you not been offered that position, do you think you'd still be playing? Like, was that a thought in your head that you knew you were going to be done at that game, or was it still a thought afterwards?
Yeah, I planned on being done after that. I didn't really know exactly what I was going to go into or what it looked like. It's always a dream to coach, but at the same time, it's one USA coaching job.
Yeah.
So and obviously that made it a line. And looking back, it's like you see you can connect the dots, hindsight pretty well, but seeing God's plan for it and everything like that. But it's been a huge blessing and a lot of fun.
So how does that schedule work out with the quad of coaching? I mean, how often are you going to Arizona, or where do you guys train, or how long are you there?
Yeah, we train down in Birmingham, Alabama, as our home training site. So that's where we're at, a place called Lakeshore Foundation. So we go down there probably 6-7 times a year in our season. Our USA season usually runs from anywhere from like January-ish to this year it's Thanksgiving. We're in Santiago, Chile during Thanksgiving, but usually September, October is where the cutoff is for the season, but it just happens to be longer this year.
Awesome.
Cool.
And what else do you do besides coaching? I know you speak and travel, and so what else are you currently doing right now besides just that?
Yeah, I coach a couple different teams as well. I coach USA, obviously, and then that's the full-time gig. That's where most of the time goes for me in my day-to-day life, but also coach with military as well. So I coach wheelchair rugby for a club team called Oscar Mike, all military vets. And then I also coach through a Wounded Warrior program, which is with the Navy. And so coach them. And so it's two different teams. One's like more of a competitive team through the USA Wheelchair Rugby League. And then the other one is more of like all kinds of, it could be PTSD, it could be you're missing a leg or a limb from war, it could be that they're just, have bad knees and they're going to be medically retired. And so they come to Navy Wounded Warrior basically to do a bunch of adaptive sports to assimilate into civilian life. And so that one's a lot of fun as well. And cool to be a blessing there. But
That's
and then
awesome.
yeah, super fun stuff. And it's unique to have like big grown men soldiers sitting down in rugby chairs and loving it, and like seeing the usefulness of it is really neat. And so and then speaking as well. And so usually what I speak on is servant leadership, speaking on opportunity within the obstacle, and just loving to talk to people about what that looks like and how that works in their life, how they can grab a hold of my unique story of being, not everyone's in a wheelchair, obviously, but really like we all face obstacles, we all face circumstances, we all face failures outside of our control or in our control, and how we respond, and so love to speak on that.
Yeah. So you've mentioned kind of here and there your faith and how that's played a role, and can you share more on how that's played a role, not only in you as an athlete, but you as a man?
Yeah. So grew up in a Christian home, and sports and faith have been intertwined in my life from day one. So my relationship with the Lord started at a very young age with a mom that read scripture to us at night, and that was like always ingrained in us over and over and over again. And you go through that, whether you're a young boy, teenager, of kind of battling that a little bit and needing to be your own. And so went off to college, played football at Winona across the river there for a year, and in between my freshman and sophomore years when I had my accident and became paralyzed. And really is like during that hospital stay is where my faith took deep root. My sisters put on, drew a little artistic poster of a Bible verse that's my life verse ever since. And most people know it, like if you're a Christian, because you see it in like bookstores and on coffee mugs and whatever, Proverbs 3, 5, and 6, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not on your understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he'll direct your path. And they threw it up there, and they wrote it down on this big poster, and like every day I wake up and see it, and I kind of been like, this path sucks, God. Like this is, like super bitter about it, mad, but really having like a real conversation where it's not all rainbows and butterflies, and like that's a faith walk that's real and authentic, and going like, this sucks. Like, I'm laying in the hospital bed. I'm 19 years old, and doctors are telling me I'm not going to walk again, and I'm going to be in a wheelchair the rest of my life. Like, don't really want a relationship with you, man. Yeah. But through softening of my heart and through that hospital stay and seeing the love from different people in my life, whether it was my parents, whether it was my girlfriend at the time, was my wife, who like we were together, and she was there every single day in the hospital, 89 straight days, and like just seeing different people at high school coaches and athletes and teammates and whatnot, college coaches and teammates coming to see me every day, and like there's a softening of the heart, and so when I look at that poster and realize, okay, like there is a need to put my faith in the, like I cannot do this on my own. I am, being 19, you're like, I'm a big, rough, tough football player. I can figure this out. I can't. And each day in the hospital, it's seeing that verse and then also seeing the chair next to my bed. And at some point, going like, I need to make a choice to get in this wheelchair. Where I thought it was the obstacle, it ended up becoming the opportunity. And meaning that, and more than just like some cliche little line there, is like, if I don't get in it, like what's life going to look like? I'm going to be stuck in a bed. I physically can't walk, I can't get out of bed. Like that is my mode of transportation to be able to go and move on in life. I don't know if I'm going to walk again at this point. I'm hoping and praying for healing, and it doesn't come, but like realizing like where this wheelchair has taken me in life, you realize, oh, like there is opportunity within this thing. Even though it's tough, even though there's times where like it's, like not every day it's like, oh man, I'm in a wheelchair. This is awesome. Yeah. But like realizing, wow, look at the blessings it's brought. Whether that's my family, whether that's the sport and being able to travel the world, playing the sport, now coaching the sport, or and like it's truly brought me a lot of opportunities. But I think in these hard moments, and believers in Christ, like we've got to be better about in these hard moments, not just going, God, take care of it, and you can figure it out. And I think a lot of people do it. It's easy to go like, I'm praying about it, God's gonna figure it out for me, and like they're sitting on their couch. Yeah. And it's like, well, like yes, we need to have faith, and there's plenty of guys in the Bible that we see and read about, and we hear these amazing stories, but like they had faith and action. Yeah. It wasn't just faith and chilling out. It was like, no, I'm gonna take faith, and I've been reading in Acts lately, and like Paul, like so much faith but crazy action. Yeah, yep. Like just incredible crazy action when he's doing that, and we have to have a personal responsibility of looking in the mirror and taking responsibility. And so, with my faith story, it's like God is in a chair over here, and I'm over here. And like moving towards him takes responsibility towards it. Like there's faith and there's hope and there's love and there's grace and there's mercy over here, but like we need to move towards that. It needs to be an active and an action there.
Action is kind of the result of faith too. I mean, faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
It's the same as if I say I love my wife and I don't do anything. Like love is not. It is way more an action and a doing than it is a feeling and an emotion. And that's where people get love wrong. And it's the same thing with faith a lot of times. I mean, Peter going outside of the boat, like it's an action. Abraham had such faith that he was willing to go sacrifice his own son, right? And God blessed his faith. But like, I have faith. Well, if you really have faith, a lot of times, okay, well, are you going to do it? Are you going to step out of the boat? Are you going to step out on the waters and the things that you're not going to see and understand? If you really trust and have faith in me, you'll step out of the boat. You'll do what I'm calling you to do, even if it's scary. And this makes no sense. There's no possible way I'm going to drown if I step out of this boat. But I mean, the testament and the sign of faith a lot of times is the actual action that follows that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Joe, can you compare the two times in your life, the one of when you're sitting in the hospital and you're faced with that obstacle and you have a decision to make on how you're going to respond, and the time that you didn't make the cut of the team and you had a decision at that point, which was how many years later?
Yeah. So 12 years later.
Okay, so
Yeah.
12 years later. So how much has your mindset changed from that first time sitting in the hospital bed to 12 years later that you experienced another obstacle, major obstacle in your life, and your difference in response between those two times? Have you matured in those 12 years and how you responded?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, I mean, there's a lot of parallels to those two situations. And I think obviously a lot of maturity within those as well. And I'd look back on 2016 and go like, man, you could have responded much better than you did. There's, just with some of the bitterness and anger that stirred and stayed for a long time. Forgiveness wasn't there and whatnot. And it's a daily thing to forgive. But I think when I look back at those two pieces and I think definitions of success and whatnot, like I responded and got through both of those situations, not just because of me. Yeah. There's a faith and belief that God has a purpose and a plan. And I think it's resting on looking back and seeing, God do that in other ways in my life, and seeing that there's been dots that have connected that I had no business connecting and whatnot. And realizing his faithfulness there, and then also is the circle of influence that you have in your life is so important. And in both of those moments, having so much love, grace shown to me in those moments. And then also having people in my life that were authentic friendships and relationships that could push me towards need. Like you're not on the right path right now, dude. You need and so in both 2004 and then 2016, having those moments. So my wife being one of those is pushing me and going when I first, after my accident, when I first started thinking about training for the Paralympics and realizing what it was and realizing what rugby was and whatnot, and starting to set some goals, is having people in your life to go dude, I thought this, your behaviors are not lining up with your goals right now, so you're not going to get there. And so just having that inner circle of influence, same in 2016, is having one of my mentors in Arizona, dude, why are you sulking and pouting about this? Move on. It's time to move on. You can be mad, whatever it is, but you need to move on from this, and not forgetting about it, but what are the lessons here? And so really having that circle of influence, I think, is really, really important. Where I don't think you're ever self-made. It's just having people around you that are supportive, that are human guardrails, so to speak, as well, that lift you up when you need it. Yep. But also they're pulling you back and going, hey, dude, where are you at here?
Yeah. Was there a pivotal moment or message from when you had your accident, of a little, maybe a time of, well, this is it, my life's over, it's never going to change? And then where was the pivotal moment for you where you said, okay, I'm not going to let my disability define me, and I'm gonna use what I still have?
Yeah. I think both the accident and the cut have to do with identity, and I think males especially, but everyone struggle with identity, what their identity rests in, and is it in their job? Is it only in their bank account? Is it only in the car they drive? What does it mean for them? And for me, in 2004, when I broke my neck, and I'm going from 6'6", 260 pounds to laying in this bed and can't move. And so now being my identity was being an athlete and being tall and within my physical stature. But then also it was in athletics, and who I was meant it was directly correlated to my success in the athletic arena. And realize it, and it's been a journey since then, and it's been a slow growth of learning what identity truly looks like. 2016 was another important lesson where identity of being like, man, I was cool with being a man with a disability. If I got to do all this cool stuff with USA and travel the world, like it made it less hard. And you're around a bunch of people with like-minded goals and whatnot. And you're pursuing something together and you're training for it, but you're also around like this disabled community that makes it less hard. And getting that ripped away in 2016, I even dealt with it recently with retiring and like, who am I without being that athlete? Yeah. And realizing like what on the priority list, like who's you are more than who you are. Am I prioritizing my relationship with God first and foremost? Am I prioritizing my relationship with my wife second? Am I prioritizing my relationship with my kids third? And then from there into work. And a lot of times, like, we need those check-ins because it's really easy to get tunnel visioned on outside success or what people think of you, success, like what, So for me, it's been this journey of figuring out what this looks like. I'm like my disability doesn't go away. I'm a man with a disability, but like you said, doesn't define me. And honestly, like, so I guess like it's a relationship with my identity, but it's also a relationship with my masculinity. And a lot of like my physical ability for the last 19 years has been taken away. Yeah, I can go and push and play this like incredibly like testosterone driven sport, but like, to the naked eye, I'm just some dude in a wheelchair that probably don't look at a guy in a wheelchair and go like, man, that guy's really masculine. And you just don't. Like, it just kind of is what it is. And I've had to relearn what masculinity means to me, who God says I am through his word. And it has nothing to do with my physical ability to stand or jump or run or whatever. And I think a lot starts with your heart posture, which is a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah. I mean, what was one thing? Maybe somebody that's listening is struggling with identity, or, I mean, often we like you said, we get tunnel vision and we're kind of on this pendulum of putting my identity where it shouldn't be to not, and then, okay, I got to come back and I reset. But maybe somebody that's struggling right now with identity, what was one like message or thing you learned with what God told you about who what your real identity is and what masculinity is to you? What was one thing that you learned?
Yeah, it's super simple. It's Sunday school material, like super easy to digest, but you're a child of God. Like first and foremost, you're a child of God. Secondly, you're made in his image. And then third, he loves you. Like it, very Sunday school, super easy, right? But those are the ingredients where if you start with that and like that's a mantra of like, okay, he loves me. I'm a child of God. He finds me valuable and worthy. And I think it's just something beautiful about that father-son relationship there. For me, or father-daughter for your women that's listening, like so important to realize that and remember that. It's so easy because like we look in the mirror, man, we're mean to ourselves a lot. Yeah. And you go like, you're not worth it. You're not worthy enough. You're messing up. Like the enemy is just totally just darting that. And he finds ways that whether it's our insecurities or inadequacies or whatever that we feel, those triggers that we all have, and we feel that, and then he pokes it and pokes it and pokes it, but we can fight back going, like, no, I'm a child of God. Yeah. He finds me worthy. He finds me valuable. He loves me. I'm made in his image. I think it's super important to hear if you're struggling with identity, realizing like we are valuable in our Father's eyes.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I mean, those things can't be taken away or shaken either. They're not based on external circumstances or anything like that. That just is truth, and it's a foundation. And it's not shakeable. Yeah.
So being an athlete, operating at a high level, and now coaching athletes at a high level, what part of the game and being a Paralympian is mental versus physical?
Yeah, my goodness. I think I love the mental side of things. My background's in counseling. I got a master's in counseling practice and prior practice for a little bit in Arizona, and love the mental side of the game. I think that's where like the threshold is people are going to be in physical shape, whatever sport you're playing. Wheelchair rugby is no different. Like that's the standard, and everyone's competing at a pretty equal level there. But I think mentally tapping into that and really like going like, where are your weaknesses as an athlete? Where are your weaknesses as a team? Now that I'm coaching, and like, what are the team dynamics? Like, we're culture driven first. I think it's really important to have an environment where it's okay to fail in, instead of an environment of like, if you mess up, you're cut type of thing. So yeah, I love to nerd out on tactics and obviously the strategies of the game, but I think tactically being sound is really important.
Great.
How did you, from your accident to then getting into rugby, how did you determine it? Because you were a football player, right?
Yeah.
So then how did you decide I'm going to go into wheelchair rugby?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. I thought wheelchair sports or adaptive sports were dumb at 19. I mean, completely ignorant, but I went from playing at a pretty high level with D2 football and going like, man, there's no way like these guys all look pathetic. Like I was just like, that was my true 19-year-old thought. And I'm like, I'm not playing these sports. There's no way. And like, I had some people like reach out like, hey, there's sports you could play in a wheelchair. And I'm like, I don't want to be in this wheelchair, let alone have to play sports in this wheelchair and then hang out with people in wheelchairs. Like I wanted nothing to do with people in wheelchairs. I hated seeing myself in the mirror. There's like hardly any pictures early on those first year or two. So I just hated being in a wheelchair and ate myself into a friend. Like I went from 260 to maybe 230 in the hospital just from, not eating very much. And then after that ballooned up to like 285 pounds. I thought I was still like 230, 240, something like that. And no. The reason I found that out is I had a buddy, we're talking about inner circle again. One of my best friends was like, dude, you need to like weigh yourself and figure out how to get in shape. And I was like, that's really hurtful to say. But he was like, man, like, no, let's go to the hospital. There's no wheelchair scales. Let's go to the hospital and get on a bed and weigh you out, zero the bed out and get on there and figure out how much you weigh. And I was like, fine, you should just leave me alone. Stop saying hurtful things. Let's go to the hospital and figure this out. So I went there and got on the bed and it said 285 pounds. And I was like, your bed's broken. Nurse, like, this can't be. And sure enough, she's like, okay, let's get you back out. We'll zero it out for you again. And like,
so you did it twice.
Did it twice. Yeah.
Numbers weren't wrong, huh?
Yeah, it was confirmed. And realized in that moment, I had a friend in a very loving way say, you're fat, figure this thing out right now. Like, and that's where I started figuring out wheelchair sports and looking them up and Googling them. And I just ended up finding this video of wheelchair rugby online. And I was like, what are these cats doing? Like, this looks actually pretty cool. And went to a practice in 2006 and I got into a rugby chair that I was just going to watch. They're like, no, you can jump in a rugby chair. And at that point, like I had no idea how to be a dude in a wheelchair. Like I had no idea how to get in and out of a car. I barely knew how to get in and out of bed. Like it was, and I carried around like this transfer board thing and they were all making fun of and what was cool about that moment in practice, it was like just a group of guys, getting after each other on the court, but also giving each other crap off the court and like a true locker room mentality, which was a lot of fun, something that was missing in my life. And then I saw a bunch of guys that were independent, that were coming to these places by themselves, getting themselves out of the car, their wheelchair rugby chairs out of the car, going to the bathroom. Like I was just absolutely intrigued by like, I thought I was like doing it all. And I was like, I was completely dependent on either my mom or April to help me out. And I'm like, oh, I can be like, I didn't realize. I was like, I can be independent? Wait a second. Like, so that's where like, I was like, whoa, this is going to be really cool. And started setting some goals. And at one point lost like close to 90 pounds.
Wow.
for my playing weight and whatnot. And like, so that all to say, it was someone in my inner circle that loved me enough to have a hard conversation with me that said, dude, figure something out here.
Yeah.
And that led me to my career. I've been going at it for 17, 18 years now.
Yeah.
How long was it? I joined rugby. I'm learning how to play wheelchair rugby to the stud you are. I'm on Team USA. How long?
Yeah, about a week.
Overnight success.
It was right away and going like, wow, this sport's really cool. And I had no idea what the Paralympics were. I had zero clue. And then people are like, oh, they're this wheelchair rugby's in the Paralympics. And I was like, what are those? And started looking at them. And I remember watching the Beijing Paralympic gold medal game. And these like, wow, these guys are so fast and in shape and like all this stuff. And I'm like, I really want to do that. And started to like, it was very quick making my first national team. Probably too quick. Like I had lost maybe 30, 40 pounds at that point and thought I was pretty good and all this stuff and made the team. And I'm like, this is pretty easy. And then it started, some Paralympic athletes from Arizona were like, reached out and like, you should play club with us and move out to Arizona. And we're living in St. Paul, Minnesota at the time. And I was asked April, I was like, man, what do you think about moving to Arizona? She's like, cool, let's do it. And like, it's like crazy moving across the country for a sport, but the pursuit of the goal, and going like, I'm not letting anything stop me from getting towards this. And there was plenty of, and we've already talked about plenty of failures along the way. 2009 failure of missing that cut, 2010, April and I lived in a hotel for like 3 months while our house was selling in St. Paul, and, figuring like all of that, like it was just, there's a lot of people that say, yeah, I want to go do that. And there's a lot of people I've seen in our disabled community that say, I want to go and play for USA. And I'm like, that's great that you want to. But like on Monday, do you want it? On Tuesday, do you want it? On Wednesday, like every single, like, are you waking up and that is what you're going after? And I learned in those first couple of years what discipline meant, how to have discipline on the daily, what I need to do. How do I set these goals to be able to do it? And so it took a couple years to make that team, but really from December 2008 when I made my first team, and then towards London where I made my first Paralympic team, those 4 years were transformational. That's where I lost most of the weight. That's where I understood what it meant to be an elite athlete, from a nutrition standpoint, sleep, physical, obviously, and mental standpoint. And so like it takes a long time. And then over the course of my 13-year career, like a constant journey of never being satisfied. That's I love Kobe stuff that comes out because he was just never satisfied. Mm-hmm. The dude was never satisfied, and he always wanted to get better and better and better. And like talk to my kids about it all the time. They're probably sick of it, but we even named our dog Kobe because I was like, I love that. But he was just never satisfied, and like the discipline that he talks about over and over and over again. I'm like, I'm going to do it every single day, and then I think pairing that with your gifting, because like just doing the hard work and thinking that you're going to succeed, it's not enough. Like I'm going to go and outwork everyone. Well, there's probably someone out there that's working harder than you.
Like, no offense, I could work really hard. I'm not going to make the NBA basketball league.
Right.
I couldn't even make the court in high school. I'm not going to make the NBA, even if I finally work hard now.
Yeah.
My vertical's 10 inches on a good day.
Yeah, the genetics aren't there.
I can't jump.
Yeah. No, and but then you go like, where are the giftings at? And that's where like God has planted giftings into our bodies, both physically, spiritually, mentally. Like, how do we tap into that? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And I realized like I had a gifting to lead a group of people, and then naturally, and there's times where you kind of run away from your gifting, I think, a lot. You're like, nah, God, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Like Moses, like send me one way. I don't want to do this. No. And the dude's like stuttering, blah, blah, blah. But like no, God's like, I have a purpose and a plan for you. That's why I just love that life verse of like trusting, like bring it back on trusting God. He's going to direct the plans. Like you've got to trust him. And there's not going to be times. There's going to be times where you don't understand it. You don't understand. Like when I was 19, laying on that bed, I had no clue what my life would look like 19 years later. I wouldn't understand it. Like if you told me like this is what's going to happen, boom, boom, boom. No, there's no way. No way. So at that point, I was just like, man, I don't even want to go look in a mirror, let alone like go back to school or, find a wife or have kids or like any of that stuff where it was unfathomable. Yeah. And so that's where the faith comes in and the faith comes in and then action's needed.
What are some fundamental disciplines that have helped develop you as a person and some things that maybe some of our listeners could start doing today that have been fundamentally impactful in your life?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, again, it's elementary stuff, but I think the biggest thing where people jump off their goal train or their, whatever it is, that their ladder. A lot of times I use the ladder as a metaphor, which is kind of funny because I can't climb one, but it's a good metaphor. Or steps to their goal, right? And it's a giant goal. Like we all have big, giant dreams, and really like our plan A is XYZ. Usually if you're on a plane with someone, you're like, hey, what's your life goal? And they're probably like, yeah, like they'll spit it out.
Yeah.
But it's the little goals in the day-to-day and the mundane that people just derail big time. And I think it's really important to set these tiny goals. It's when I lost a lot of weight and went from 285 down to around 200. I coach now, so I'm a little bit thicker right now. But but like when I went, it wasn't like I need to lose 90 pounds. It was like I want to lose 10 pounds this month. And how do I get there? And then what happens in those moments of the small goals is there's motivation to continue through the momentum that you've created by crushing that small goal, and then cheering about it, and allowing yourself to pat yourself in the back about it, and like all of a sudden you get another goal and you chew that one off, and that's where like I think people just jump off and they're halfway towards a goal and they're like, I can't do this. There's no way.
Yeah.
Number one, because they haven't set smaller enough goals, and really what those small goals do is teach you that discipline, and discipline's a muscle that you got to keep on pumping, because there's going to be time. And then the other thing too is like as you're climbing the ladder, you climb the steps towards your goal, is make sure that you give yourself grace to pause and rest. Number one, your body needs rest, your mind needs rest, your spirit needs rest. It's biblical. But then number two, it's a chance for you to stop and look back.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important too. Yeah. I think you might have put something on Facebook about that. Yeah,
yep, I have.
But it's like, man, it's really cool to be able to look back and go, oh man, I've came a long way. This is good. Yeah. And you throw yourself a little party about it because it's like, man, that is powerful stuff to do. And so if I was going like, I'm taking my steps towards my goal. My goal is make the Paralympic team in 2012. And I'm taking steps towards it. And I totally have a terrible month, or I have a terrible week, or I go to Hardee's 6 times during that week. And
Amen.
Yeah. A little curly fries, you know what I'm saying? But when you get there and you get to a spot where you fail, for me, they've talked about like not making a team or whatnot, or you miss a workout, you're off, the discipline muscle isn't being exercised that day at all, is having a moment to have perspective, looking back and going like, oh, that's where I came from. Yeah. I came from a 19-year-old kid laying in a hospital bed that literally didn't know how to push a wheelchair around a block, let alone doing what I'm doing now, or remembering like I couldn't dress myself or feed myself or brush my teeth for a second there. Or remembering like, what would that kid in the wheelchair, like he was just wanting to like figure out what life looked like. And now you're living life to the fullest and competing for a spot on the national team, for the Paralympic team. Like perspective there is like, oh, okay, that's going to breathe life into you to continue on the next step. Yep. I can respond to this failure in a powerful way now and not sulk about it and then go down 4 more steps. Yep. And derail this thing.
And I think those little wins are way more important than, like you said, looking at the big goal and that's the end goal, but you're living in a process not to achieve the goal. But Dave Ramsey talks about the debt snowball and paying off your smallest debts first. And even if your largest debt has the highest interest rate, pay your small debts first, because that's going to continue to motivate you to pay off more.
Yeah.
And if you just have this big giant debt that you have to pay off and you're chunking away and away and away at it, you don't feel like you're making progress and you're going to stop doing it.
Yeah.
Even if it makes sense logically to pay a debt of the highest rate first, paying off the smallest debts, feel like you're winning, will continue to motivate you to move forward. So I think that's really important. It's no different than in business when we look at goals. Like, there is no point in setting a goal past the 3 months. Like, having quarterly goals of, this is what I'm going to achieve this quarter, and then looking back, did I achieve that or not? And having a yearly goal and, a strategy to get there, a 3-year goal, but like really not goal setting past 3 months doesn't really make sense. Having a dream or a vision past that is needed.
Yeah. No, I mean, it brings up a great point about vision and strategy. Like, you can have an awesome strategy and an awesome vision for the goal.
Yeah.
But like, tactically, like, what's your how? How are you going to get there?
Yep.
Like, if I'm like, I just want to lose weight, well, what does that look like? It looked like me having to cut my calories. It's simple, like in and out. How much calories you burn, how much calories you eating. Where's your where's your metabolic resting rate? And I think people can get lost in the tactics of it and get in struggle in that tactic area, and it's really like asking for help in those moments. If you don't know, like, ask for help. And then the other thing that popped up when you're talking about that is like, if you've got a goal or a dream or a vision or like what, like, you need to actually say it out loud to someone. Write it down, say it out loud to someone. Because if you don't, like, it's just going to sit in your heart and it's never actually going to like come to fruition, because there's no way, like, there's no risk there.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm too scared to even like say it out loud to my friends, to my wife, to like whoever. And if it stays inside, it's a lot easier when you mess up and you derail. No one knows about it. So
No
it's
accountability.
Like zero accountability.
Yep.
Yeah. So you write it down, and then you say it to someone or some people close to you. All of a sudden, instant accountability. Yeah.
No, I love this topic though, because it's just funny, because it's been something that God's kind of been. I mean, I'm slow, so God's taught me this multiple times, but I constantly need to be reminded. But it's this. I think there's so much anxiety in people's goals, and just so much anxiety in life in general. And I have lots of anxiety. I think part of that is because we look at the end goal, like what you guys are talking about, but it's the day-to-day walking it out that keeps getting missed. Because let's say, like, when I was trying to get in, I'm vain, so I was trying to get in beach shape for Kauai a couple years ago. Well, I want to drop X amount of weight. There's no way I can do it, right? And then I do my first day of this cut workout, and I am like, I'm going to throw up, I'm going to pass out, and I go, I can't do this for 3 months. And it was almost like the Lord reminded me, like, okay, can I do it today, though? So that's what I would say every single day I'd go to the gym. I'd say, look, I can't do this for 3 months. Well, I can't worry about tomorrow. All I have is today. I go to the gym, can I do this today? I can do it, and then by the end, I'm absolutely toast. I'm going to pass out. I'm going to throw up. This is horrible. I can't do 3 months of workouts right now, but can I win today? And if I can win today and every single day that's called today, which is the only day we get, then I'm going to eventually reach my goal. And it's the same thing with my goals for my marriage, the same thing with my goals for work, the same thing with my goals as being a father, and the same thing in my walk with Jesus of I see all this junk or these things that I want to do better, or I want to be more faithful to Jesus. I want to walk out his mission more. I want to be a better father, all this stuff. And if I look at it as this macro scale of I have to do all this stuff, it's super overwhelming. I don't have enough time, blah, 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 blah. But that's why the Lord's like, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow has enough worries for itself. Can you do it today?
Yeah.
Do I believe that God can give me enough strength to do it today? Can I have the energy and fill up and spend some time with the Lord in the morning? And can I fill up to have enough to go out and serve people today? Pour myself out. I feel empty at night. Okay, now I got to fill up again. But can I do it? I think I can do today.
Yeah. So, and like, how do we achieve that in that 24 hours? We got to be intentional with 24 hours. Like, we have to be. thank God my wife, set us up on our little Google Calendar thing, and like
Love Google Calendar.
like I don't know if I could function without it. Like
For sure.
it's like if it's not in there, it's not happening.
Yep.
And I've realized that with in all areas of my life. Starting in like you don't need to you don't have to get up at 4:30 in the morning to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Like that's where I'm at. No, but like there's
I hope not. I've never been.
Yeah, no, like I don't know. You hear the Instagrammers are like, man, I start my day at 4:30. I actually have 3 days in one day. I'm like, no, you don't.
Right?
Like, that's not an actual thing.
Oh yeah, that math. That's
Yeah.
really cool. 1 + 1 = 3. Now I have a month.
Yeah,
Sure
yeah,
you do.
yeah. But during that day, am I intentional with my time?
Mm-hmm.
And you're again like that discipline muscle. You are working out your decision making, and like where do we? I was listening to a podcast recently about this, and just constantly trying to learn. And like they talked about where do we fail in our decision making most of the time? It's not usually when we wake up in the morning and be like, you know what? I really want to destroy my day. I'm going to have the worst breakfast possible. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no, it's at night where you're like, I'm so tired of all these decisions.
Yep.
I want to have some ice cream. Instead of having a drink a night, I want to have 6. Like, like just random, like those are the times usually where the decision making derails. Like you're on the way home, you're like, Taco Bell drive-thru looked really nice.
Yeah.
Shout out to that Crunchwrap Supreme.
I was literally just going to say that. Oh my goodness.
So good.
There's not a night of Crunchwrap doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like, I'm going to get the bean version. That's better for me.
Yeah. I'll get the side taco too. It's only $1.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Throw it in. No, but you're learning how to make decisions each day. And then you're 100% correct. The next day is the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm on a journey of getting better with that myself, but that's where I think it's easy to derail. And then, but through, even if you're the best, you're like Mr. Journaler and you figure it all out and like you're really disciplined, we're going to fail at some point during the day, and not letting that derail us. Giving ourselves grace, having a talk with yourself in the mirror, not like you're a failure, you suck, you're terrible. Like you let your wife down and your family down and your business, like looking in the mirror and going like, I've got a choice here in this mess, whether it's big or small, I've got a choice to make. And I get that opportunity to make that choice. And it goes back to like, what does God say about me? Whose am I? How do I respond to this? Because it's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
In our marriages, in our relationships with our kids, and working with your teammates, whatever that looks like, and with my players is going like, yeah, you messed up, but like there's a next play.
Mm-hmm.
Like what are we gonna do the next time? What are we gonna do the next day? What are we gonna do the next choice? Because it's a tough pill to swallow, and I think a lot of people swim in this pool of guilt and shame and can't get out of it because there's not true grace and mercy around them that can lift them out of there, or they look in the mirror and see something ugly that they don't like.
Failure is inevitable, but our response is a choice.
Yeah.
We can choose how we respond to something. So,
To end us off, Joe, what's the next big goal that you're striving after right now?
Yeah, we're rocking and rolling. We're a year out at the time of us recording this from Paris, like today.
Awesome.
Which is pretty crazy.
Like the day today?
Today.
Really?
Yeah, 365 days
Cool.
away from opening ceremonies.
that's right. I timed it like that.
Yes, perfect. So that's a huge goal right now, and obviously in the next year there's a lot to do. But I was thinking about it earlier today, and thinking of it as like a highway, and like our destination, the end address is Paris 2024. But there's so many different exits you can get off of along the way, and just staying mission focused on that, and helping our team stay mission focused on that. And so the vision is Paris 2024 and being on top of the podium, but then the tactics on the day-to-day are like, how are we going to treat each other? What's our culture look like? What's your day-to-day as an individual athlete look like? How are we going to prepare and we think we've got some exits that are built in with some tournaments coming up and whatnot for us to make it look like
Cool.
to see what to see what that looks like, and then again, always remembering in the next year not getting tunnel vision on winning a medal, but tunnel vision on what my purpose is and where God's called me to build up these men and women in our program.
That's great.
And then we talked a lot about, I mean, you had mentioned or hinted at your accident. I'm sure some people want to know, I mean, what happened with that? You're 19 years old. What
Yeah.
was the accident?
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, we strung that along. That was great.
That's on purpose because we're waiting for the end. They have to stick around the whole episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So my story with my accidents, I was like I said, a sport guy my entire life. Loved it. Made the decision to go to school to play football and had that opportunity there, and that was a dream come true. And so played a season, was a true freshman, so did pretty well that season. And like for me, it's just like I'm living out my dream. I had nothing. I really had no dream after football. It was like wanted to play a college sport, figure out what that looked like. We'll figure it out after. In between my freshman and sophomore years, I was back home in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, about an hour and a half south, and working at. I had some really really sweet jobs. I had a Pizza Hut job, free food. You know what I'm saying? And then I worked for the city, the Parks and Rec department. So I just drove around a truck and made fun of my two best friends that came back. One of them worked for the city too. He got the weed whacking job, which he just whack weeds for like 8 hours a day.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, I think I get paid more to drive around the truck making fun of you. Like, it was great. Check the chlorine level here and there. Check the river level. Make sure Hardee's isn't going out of business. And then,
Pete's Burgers.
yeah, dude, Pete's Burgers. My God. And so in that summer, on the weekends, when we're done work, we jump on the river, and my buddy, he had his grandpa's hand-me-down little Lumacraft, like 15-footer with like a 35 horsepower motor, but to us it was like a yacht, dude. It was awesome, right? Like you're 17, 18, 19 years old on that. We'd grow up on and go in the back sloughs and whatnot, kneeboard, fish, all that whole stuff. And that day, July 10th, 2004, we're on the river in the morning. It's a Saturday, beautiful summer day, partly cloudy, 75 degrees, and just remember like the picturesque of invincibility. Being teenagers on the river, we're back from college for a year and just enjoying the summer. And Kyle was driving the boat, my best buddy, and Adam, so two best friends that grew up on the same street in Wisconsin, in Prairie du Chien. And Kyle ends up hitting the bottom of the river in a back slough. Never know how deep or shallow it is, right? And hits the bottom of the river. I was just sitting in the boat looking at Adam kneeboarding, and I fly backwards in the boat, hit my head on the front of the boat, inside the boat there, and break my neck at the C6 and 7 level. So I went from sitting there enjoying the summer day to instantaneously having my neck broke, and then realizing, a day or two later that I was paralyzed from the neck down, chest down, and had broken my neck and twisted my spinal cord at the 6th and 7th vertebrae down from the base of your skull. So that's what ended up happening, and was in the hospital. And obviously we've told the story after that, but
Yeah.
What are the first thoughts that go through your head? You break your neck, you're in the, you know what I mean? What's going through your mind?
yeah, I mean, right away, obviously I had no idea what was going on, and I had blacked out, and then came to like a minute later, and Kyle and Adam are looking down over me and tears running down their face. They knew something was wrong, and I'm like really in shock, but and a ton of pain from the open head injury that I had, and knew something was wrong, but didn't know the extent of it. And they had asked me like, "Can you move your legs?" And I was like, "No."
Oh.
And I'd send the signal down from my brain into my spinal cord, into my leg, like you do, like I'm doing right now with my hand movement. Like you just don't think about it at all. And so I'm like, like, why isn't my leg moving? Something's obviously wrong, but I didn't know if it was like some stinger, or like just something that was temporary or whatnot. And even feeling my legs in that moment felt like I was touching someone else's leg, which is always like, you know, like when it's on your body, but you feel like you're touching someone else's leg. It's kind of an out of body experience. And don't remember the next couple days very well, but remember when the doctors came in and told me that I wouldn't walk again. It was just a wild feeling.
Yeah.
You know, and you already have questions pouring around in your head at 19 years old already about what life's going to look like, and all those things, you know. Like, even my mom was in the room asking those same questions, and the doctor had told her about my paralysis, and then my mom's like, is he going to be able to have sex? And I was like, Mom, can you get the hell out of my room, please? Like, she, like, it did, but
grandbabies.
yeah, total, like, she wants grandbabies, exactly. But in that moment, yeah, and I was like, Mom, get out, doctor, come back in, let's talk about that.
And you said,
and you know, yeah, I was like, so, what's the word? Is there a book I can read? And obviously I have 3 kids, so yeah, the listeners are interested. I have 3 kids, so you guys do the math on that one. But no, like, but those are the things you're thinking about in that moment. Mm-hmm. Like, what is life going to look like? Truly, what's life going to look like in a wheelchair? But I still, in that hospital, could not fathom being in a wheelchair the rest of my life. Like, and I was like, this is going to be miserable. And yeah, it's miserable, and I'm pretty depressed. No, I'm just kidding. Like, there's days that are tough. There's days that you get pissed off, but I think that's like, in our God, we're made in God's image, and we have emotions. Some of us more than others. I'm finding out with our 3 kids, but like, in those range of emotions is having a relationship with them, and a good enough relationship with them to actually talk about it with them. You know, much like you do as a kid, and going to your parents and arguing, or like, why can't I stay out later? Or like, why can't I do this? And for me, it was like, why is this happening? And a lot of times we get stuck on the why of our circumstances instead of like, the opportunity that presents itself there. Like, I have air in my lungs, my hands and my arms and my upper body works. For the most part, I can be pretty independent. Stairs and I don't obviously get along very well, but I have a lot of ability to go and do whatever I want to do. And it took me a while to figure that out, that the chair was not an obstacle at all. Really, it's become a miracle, to be honest. Like, it's, you know, the disabled, like wheelchairs and the disabled, it came a long, long way in a short amount of time, to where, like, there's a lot of things that are accessible that used to not be. And I have a lot of opportunity out there that a lot of people didn't, and just 30, 40, 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, like, to not use that opportunity, I think, does a disservice to people that have paved the way there. And then also just the responsibility to be a good steward of my body with what the Lord's given me.
Yeah.
Which is a conversation that we have sometimes about, like, man, you know, like, and Paul said it, like, take this thorn from my side. Like, there's times where it sucks. And I think just being real about that, like, yeah, being real about the lows. So the highs are that much more greater. And, you know, everyone gets to see the Facebook or Instagram, like, highs.
Yep.
But the grind on the day-to-day, I think, can be really powerful, and being able to express that, of like, it's not going to be easy every single day. Matter of fact, it's going to be hard a lot. But for me, it's I've gotten used to it. I never look in my chair in the morning and go like, oh, I got to get in that thing. It's not even a thing anymore, but it's a mindset that's grown over the course of the last 19 years.
I love it. Well, thanks so much.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks so much for coming on, and yeah, it's been an awesome conversation. So.
Yeah, appreciate you guys for having me. Thank you.
Awesome.
Good
And
deal.
then, hey, best of luck in Paris in 365 days.
Let's go.
Where can people go to find more about you or your team?
Yeah, more about my stories on my website, Joe Delagrave, and and
We'll put a link.
put a little link in there.
Yeah.
Active on Instagram the most, probably J Delagrave 14, and
We'll put a link.
yeah. And if you want to have me come speak somewhere, there's a link for that too.
Cool.
We'll have a link.
Good deal. Thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in. We sincerely hope that you learned something today. And as always, we appreciate your support and hope that you can all find a way this week to pay it forward.